Welcome to the Dibley Diaries for this week. This week is the third Sunday of Advent. Some people who have multicoloured Advent wreaths will be lighting the pink candle because we think about rejoicing. Gaudete is the Latin for that. And so people might be wearing pink vestments or lighting the pink candle for the third Sunday of Advent. It's actually, we think about John the Baptist in the third Sunday of Advent, more of that in Thought for the Week. But this week in particular, what will happen where I work is that our church buildings will be full of people coming to carol services who live in the villages but never normally come to church at any other time. And it's lovely to see them. It's great to see them. And I think proportionally this is a different issue in the countryside because the proportions will just be different to the ones maybe in an urban setting. So we will have places where on a Sunday, for Sunday worship, there will be 6 people, where there'll be 60, 70 or even 80 people at a service. And I want to say to them, where are you the rest of the year? Where are you when there are 6 people in the service and we've heated the church and we've paid for an organist and we're running that day at a loss? Where are you when we are disheartened, when there's so few of us? But you're here. And that's a really good thing, and I think that's a really big tension for vicars in the countryside. How do we say to people who want to come to a carol service but that's all they want to come to, how do we say to them, we need more of your support through the year if we are going to continue to function without sounding like we're not pleased that they came to the carol service, which we are pleased that they came to that. That's going to be the dilemma for us this Sunday, everyone who's leading a carol service. How do we be welcoming to our villagers without going, well, we could really do with you, even just twice or 3 times more in a year. Thought for the week this week is based on the Gospel passage for this week, which is Luke chapter 3 verses 7 to 18, and it's John the Baptist speaking. And I've really been thinking this week about the little bit of verse 8 where it just says that we should show the fruit of our repentance. Show fruit of repentance. And what does fruit of repentance look like for us? This is John's command to us and on this third Sunday of Advent. I was reminded about being on the metro system in Singapore many years ago. Along with all the other rules which go along with Singapore, one of the things that you mustn't do is take durian fruit on the metro. And that's because whilst durian fruit is supposed to be absolutely delicious, and I have never had any, it smells really, really bad. It smells terrible and is therefore banned from the Singapore metro. And I was wondering, is durian a good fruit of repentance or not? Something to ponder. However, when people ask John to elaborate on what lives look like when they're filled with the fruit of repentance, he uses 3 examples. The first example is that he talks about sharing. He says, if you have 2 coats, you should share one with someone who doesn't have one. That's what the fruit of repentance looks like to John the Baptist's people who are there, that are listening to him. And then he says to tax collectors, don't collect more than you're supposed to. And he says to soldiers, do not use your power to extort money from people. So these are 3 examples of what fruit of repentance looks like. They look like sharing what you have. They look like not overcharging people if you're the tax collector. They look like not using your power to extort money. Interestingly, fruit of repentance, those examples are nothing to do with sexual behaviour. I just thought that was interesting because the church for a long time has been very concerned with sexual behaviour and repentance, but actually John's 3 examples of fruit of repentance don't even mention that at all. They talk about sharing and they talk about not extorting money from people. Now, if you've ever been in a household with 2 children and you're trying to encourage them to share, then you get one, if they're cutting something in half, you get one of them to cut and the other one to choose. That is how you stop fights, but it is not really what John is talking about here. John is talking about having a spirit of generosity, of wanting to share, of being very happy to share, not looking for your rights in that sharing, but actually having a generous spirit of sharing. And then this whole thing about what does it mean to exploit people? What does it mean to be generous to people and not extort money from people or things from people using our power? That's a challenging question for us. I looked up how many people are considered to be in modern day slavery in the UK. One of the estimates is 13,000 people. That's a lot of people. How are we not actually making that happen? How are we not collaborating with that in our situation? How are we thinking about what we buy, about the money that we spend? How are we thinking about the fairness of that? What does that mean for us? And that's the challenge for us this week. When we think about it, what does it mean to us that we are not exploiting other people and that we are sharing what we have? How are we showing the fruit of repentance? The Dibley moment for this week is something about fruit. I was thinking about fruit and I was thinking about this apocryphal story that may or may not be true. So somebody who is not the usual Sunday school teacher teaches a Sunday school class and he says, well, I want you to think about something. So he says, well, I want you to think about something which can fit in your hand or is maybe a little bit bigger than your hand and is yellow and it's pointy at both ends and round in the middle and it smells really nice. And a child puts up their hand and says, I know the answer is Jesus, but I think you're talking about a lemon. And that has been something that I have always thought about whenever I have been speaking to young people about Jesus, that actually we want them to be thinking about what we're talking about and not just spouting out the answer that they think that we want them to tell us. So that's it for the Dibley Diaries for this week. I pray for you and your village, however large or small, that you'll have a very blessed week, which will be full of the fruit of repentance.